Ryan Coogler's Sinners is a fascinating blend of his signature storytelling, rich in social commentary, character-driven arcs, and visual intensity, with a horror framework that flirts with genre conventions more than it commits to them. As a longtime fan of Coogler's work, I left the theater impressed by the craft, the performances, and the deeper themes that bubbled under the surface. But as a horror enthusiast, I walked out wishing the film had leaned harder into the dread, darkness, and terror it seemed to promise. Let's start with what works, and there's a lot. Coogler has always had a sharp eye for humanizing characters in environments stacked against them. Fruitvale Station, Creed, Black Panther, and Sinners is no exception. Set in a fictional southern town cloaked in religious fervor and intergenerational trauma, the story revolves around Naomi, played masterfully by Dominique Fishback, a former believer returning home after years away, drawn back by the sudden death of her younger brother under mysterious circumstances. Fishback brings quiet fire to Naomi. Every glance, every hesitation, every moment of silent reckoning is soaked in pain and resilience. Coogler uses her as a mirror to the town's oppressive moral code, allowing the audience to feel both the weight of collective guilt and the pull of personal redemption. Visually, Sinners is gorgeous, if gorgeous is a word you can use for a film saturated with deep shadows, half-seen figures, and candlelit rituals that feel like they were unearthed from ancient nightmares. Cinematographer Autumn Dorald Arcapa, who also worked on Loki and Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, crafts haunting tableaux that suggest horrors lurking just beyond the frame. The sound design is equally effective, with whispers and chants that crawl up your spine. But here's where things get tricky. Sinners flirts with horror tropes, religious possession, cultish behavior, creeping madness, but rarely lets them bloom into full-blown terror. There are sequences that should be terrifying, but Coogler seems more interested in atmosphere and metaphor than in delivering scares. It's less about jump scares and more about emotional dread, moral rot, and spiritual suffocation. Admirable? Absolutely. Satisfying as a horror film? Not entirely. Thematically, Sinners explores how systems, especially those cloaked in righteousness, can destroy from within. It examines how sin is not always a personal failing but sometimes a societal imposition, handed down like an inheritance. These are heavy ideas, and Coogler handles them with care. At times, the script, co-written with Joe Robert Cole, feels more like a sermon or a parable than a conventional narrative, which may lose viewers expecting a straightforward scarefest. That's not to say there aren't effective moments. One scene involving Naomi in the town's dilapidated chapel, facing off with a preacher whose charm is as suffocating as it is sinister, is a masterclass in slow-building unease. Another moment, a baptism turned near exorcism, toes the line between salvation and horror in a way that's both gripping and disturbing. But for every one of these scenes, there's another that feels like a slow burn with no real fire at the end. The supporting cast delivers strong performances, especially Glenn Turman as the cryptic pastor Elijah, who embodies the film's central tension between faith and fanaticism. His scenes with Fishback are electric, often saying more in silence than in words. But the film's pace, deliberately slow and meditative, may frustrate horror fans expecting a tighter, scarier ride. Ultimately, Sinners is more of a spiritual thriller than a straight horror film, a meditation on guilt, memory, and the lies we tell ourselves in the name of salvation. As a Coogler fan, I'm amazed at how he continues to evolve, unafraid to push into new genres while staying true to his voice. But as a horror lover, I kept waiting for the moment when the film would let itself be truly scary, and that moment never really came. That said, Sinners may age like fine wine. It's layered, poetic, and chilling in its implications, if not always in execution. It's a film that rewards reflection more than reaction, a beautiful, unsettling sermon that preaches to the haunted within us, rather than trying to scare the hell out of us.